Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 7th podcast for PCN Season 11. I'm your host, Saul Goodman Jr., and tonight I have a Dorsey joining me, as always.
Howdy, neighbors.
I also have Little Rio.
Hi again.
I have One King.
What's going on, fellas?
I have Batty.
What's up, boys?
And then I have Slays.
What's good?
Gentlemen, tonight we are talking the championship battle for Super League, League 1, League 2, and then we're also looking at the relegation battle for Super League and League 1. So for Super League, we really have, it looks like 5 people. I mean, you could make the case for 4. Inter Milan sitting on the outside there. Benfica is currently sitting in first with a game in hand, 54 goals for, 19 against, sitting at 63 points. Juve is right behind them with 58 for, 23 against, 62 points. AC Milan, 59 for, 21 against, and 61 points. And then Lazio, surprise of the season, has 62 for, 33 against, and 58 points. And then, as I said earlier, Inter Milan, 54, only 16 against, and then 57 points. Of this spread of the top 5, what are your guys' thoughts on their seasons? Who's going to take it? All of the above.
In my opinion, I believe AC Milan is one of the tough teams. For me, as One King looking on the outside, I've been here 3 seasons, and those guys are just, from what I've seen, they've progressed, and they've picked up guys like my man Bauer 10, and he's putting some good assists in for those guys in the cups, and I just think that they're going to prevail and probably win the Super League, in my opinion.
You know, since I sit on the bench of AC Milan, I should sit here and be a political politic and say that we're going to win the league, but we sold the other day, so I can't sit here and talk as confidently. But looking at the schedule as opposed to everybody else, it's really depending on how Benfica plays. So it's really ours to lose, because Inter and Juve are great teams, obviously, but Juve's keen to give up some goals. Inter's keen to not score goals. So anything's possible, really. But I think, realistically, AC was going to walk away with the title.
Yeah, I think AC got a strong chance. The fact that Benfica don't really concede much might work in their favour. I mean, all of the top 4 have got pretty prolific attack. Even the top 5, top 6. It's really hard to call on my eyes because I'm going to be biased because of AC.
When you look at Benfica's schedule coming up, they have Lyon, they have Lazio coming up in the next 2 game days, and then they also have some tougher ones on the back end with Manchester United, and then a stronger than expected Leverkusen squad. It's going to be interesting with the teams that they have left if they can maintain their position. They do have the game in hand, they do have a point, but there's really no margin for error.
Yeah, I will say I got the last 12 pulled up here form-wise, and it's Inter, Benfica, Juve, and then Milan. And Lazio are way kind of off the pace. Inter are kind of the furthest away, but they're in the best form. Benfica, Juve, Milan, Juve started slow, but they've been in that mix for a while. It's kind of been the 3 of us looking like the run, and until we sold on Sunday, Milan, we were feeling pretty good about our chances. Thankfully, Benfica did drop points in one game. I think Benfica have a little bit easier run in than Juve or Milan, but it's going to come down to that the pressure and not dropping points to teams you think you should beat. And we've had our slip up day, because if we do it again, that's probably GG's for Milan. So we just have to hope that Benfica and Juve drop points at some point and we can get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, Inter has been in good form, but their schedule is, even more daunting. They've got AC Milan and Juve the next game day on Wednesday. They also have Manchester City and Villarreal the game day following. That's going to be 4 games there that's going to be really showing where they're at with that form, how true it is, and whether they can really make that push.
And the way I see it is Super League is always the biggest league to prevail, to get the title. Everybody wants that title. That's what everybody's seeking to, from League 2 to League 1, all the way up to the top. And I just believe that everybody has a good form, and everybody should always have a good form and a good way to go. But AC Milan is, in my opinion, they've just been that team to beat. Benfica's just been crawling, and they just can't get over the hump. And so it's going to be a good way the last couple game days just to see how it really does turn out to become a title race.
Okay, so for me, this may sound biased, but I think Inter or Benfica. It depends on like this next game day. If Inter beat AC and Juve, I feel like they'll be up there and they'll be competing with Benfica. But it's either Benfica or Inter, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy how long it took Inter to get going this season. For a while they were stuck in mid-table even. And then at some point around mid-season, I think they made a couple swaps they needed to, and they finally got on the run. And the defense has stayed outstanding, and they've finally been picking up the goals they weren't earlier in the season. And really, this is the deepest title race there's ever been. We've had maybe better single teams. I think we've had some really interesting two-team races, but we've never had, with 2 weeks to go, 5 teams this close who reasonably could all win the league if things fall their way. So just being a part of it and seeing it as a neutral both, it's really fun on both ends.
It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy how tight it is. There's like 15 teams in the Super League. I'd say that most of the results can go either way. And I think that's what's made this season so interesting.
I think Inter's biggest problem is that, Easy here can interpretate more because he's on the team, but I think their biggest problem is that for as little goals as they concede, they're not scoring as much as they was last season with the exact same attack outside of their outside mids.
But
definitely.
The league adapts.
Stride and Kloof have been picking it up lately. Last few games, they've been scoring a lot.
A lot of the defenses, in my opinion, have adapted to a certain style of play. Which is why I think, some of the teams that were heavy scorers, I think, not predictable so much, but kind of if you're aware of how certain teams want to attack. You look at all the top defenses, I'm pretty sure they've all conceded less than 30 goals. I think Benfica conceded less than 20, which is crazy. So,
yeah,
I think that's a big factor too.
And I think that the reason that kind of, not just for him, but I think for me, Lazio, they've conceded more than a goal a game, which I don't think anyone's ever won a title, at least not in any kind of recent last 2 FIFAs or so with that kind of defense. 33 conceded, 21. They do have the best offense in the league this season, but I think you really do need an elite defense, and the other 4 teams in here are all conceding, between 0.6 and 0.7 goal a game, something crazy like that. It's such a defensive FIFA at this point that, like you're saying, people have adjusted to the styles, and you really, I know for Milan, just speaking from experience, I'd say half of our goals have just been either just like a simple error from someone or some FIFA cheese that we've conceded. It hasn't just been teams breaking us down. It's just been people, you just yell at the game because you're like, how the hell does that go in?
Inter's sitting just above 0.5 goals allowed per game. They have 16 goals allowed with 29 games. Benfica's at 19 with 28 games. The other ones are sitting at 21 and 23. And then you have, like everyone's saying, Lazio has 33. So I think what everyone's touching on is that kind of defense, it's hard to sustain championship level success over a 38 game season.
Needless to say, the Edmonton team has killed the title yet again. Lazio was perfectly fine. Everybody started calling them Leicester, and then it's been downhill ever since.
Yeah, I still want to give them a lot of credit. No one expected them to finish even in the Super Cup places, which it looks like they should be able to do. I think the first half season, people hadn't, the first time around they played everyone, people were kind of blitzed by them. I think the second time around, people did make those adjustments on them. And like I said, I think they just didn't have quite a good enough defense to sustain the games where, they maybe only scored 1 goal.
Yeah, they kind of reminded me of our City team last season, though. So we just kind of had a different way of scoring goals, and I think Lazio exploited that. And just some of the goals, some of the games they played early on in the season, they were getting 4-5 past teams, and when I watch back on the streams, they just seem to have an effective way of attacking, which a lot of defenses weren't prepared for. So fair dues to them, man. They deserve it.
Yeah, they went from second half of the table to top 6. I think you can relatively say that they'll end there unless they really collapse these last few game days.
What about you, Saul? What was your choice?
I always choose the underdogs. If you ever watch the marquee matchups, I always choose the underdogs. And I've been tooting Inter Milan's horn for a long time. You can go back to the second or third podcast. And I'd really like them to win it. I think that kind of, for me, that would be like the team that was like always on the cusp, but just couldn't figure out what they needed. But then that defense has been phenomenal all season, and they just figured out a way to score. And they make that run that no one was really expecting, because you saw Lazio, AC Milan, they were kind of the chatter, and then Benfica was a little bit behind them. Juve was kind of just, everyone expected that talent to come together, especially when they picked up when they picked up
Kessie.
yeah. I think when they picked them up, everyone just expected them to make that run, and they're up there. Kudos to them. Inter Milan for me would be the feel good, and I think they're really in form right now, and you can't really bet against someone who's playing that well.
It's funny. So you literally, a team that's on the cusp that just couldn't figure out what it was to get the title. You literally just described the club of AC Milan's history in PC.
Yeah, all I can say is if we don't win it, I really want someone to pass us for second. I don't want to finish runner-up again.
AC Milan in second place, and the only thing that will make this any worse for people like Dorsey and Fozzie and Cozy that are from the original Milan is if Milan comes in second and Juve wins the title. The only thing that will make it worse.
Yeah, I think I might retire.
All right. Well, let's switch to a little less rosy topic and look at the relegation battle for Super League. There's really 6 teams, I guess you can make the case for. I mean, you have River Plate with 9 points, America with 13, New York City FC at 18, PSG and Stay High at 18, just sitting above the relegation line on that goal differential. And then you have Young Boys with 21 and Arsenal with 26, who could kind of get dragged in if they have some slip-ups in these last few game days, and PSG, NYC kind of pull it together. So of those teams, are there any surprises, or who do you think is going to be? Do you think the line is set already, or what are your thoughts?
The line's set already.
Fellas, how in the world have we played 29 games already in Super League? You know, I'm a guy that's in League 2, so I have nowhere near to talk, but, whatever. These guys, I understand New York FC was going through some things, and they fell in, they fell out, and, I think it's Issa Willie picked them up. But, man, you guys, we gotta come together in Super League at the bottom of the table and just fight for your life.
Yeah, I really just for the narrative's sake, I want Young Boys to slip to 18th, and then on the final day win 2 games and get out of relegation, just so they can.
They do it every season.
On this FIFA, I will write a book about
that. Listen. In my honest opinion, like no shit talking aside, I think the line's set, and the reason why I say I think the line's set because River Plate's had the exact same thing. This is a situation I've never seen this before, in no matter what league I play in. A team that has conceded this many goals has stuck together. I don't care what nobody says. This is impressive.
Respect.
Yeah, fair dues to that, man.
America, it was a new manager, so like it was to be expected. But see, up until like last week, I was set on Arsenal being the team to go down, because outside of like my good friends of SS Spurs and NSGG Dan, who changed his name to B Dan for some reason that we're not going to talk about, I don't like the team's not that impressive really. But then I look at PSG, and Stay High has a recurring theme to like when things aren't going right to overhaul a roster. He did this last season. Like overhaul the roster is kind of his shtick, but it normally works out. This time, it's not working out. And I was playing with them earlier, and it's just not there. Like for a team that plays together a lot, you would think there would be a chemistry there. There was nothing there. And Lupe, like his availability is not the greatest. Obviously, he helps out a lot when he's on the pitch. But
I mean, that man's got 27 goals. He's the second top goal scorer in Super League.
Yeah,
like, for a team that's there, that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I
It
think.
just shows that when that man plays, he does,
Yeah,
he changes our team completely.
I really do want to have a PCN Hall of Fame soon, and if we do that, like Lupe, especially if he keeps them above relegation this season, has to be like a first entrant, just because of he's played with Stay High every season, and when he's played, he's basically been a goal a game. When they were good, he was a big reason why. When they were mediocre, he was a reason why they weren't worse. And this season, without him, I mean, I think they'd be probably in 19th. It's crazy. I don't think it's been like Stay High's idea to change the roster so much. I think it's just for whatever reason, guys just don't stick around there like they used to. But I think America, they've been chugging along all season. They've been improving here and there, but the results haven't showed it. And I think it's a little too late for them. I think River Plate have been gone for a while, but like I said, like Rio said, like I do respect them sticking around. Arsenal, I think with that goal difference in the recent form, I think they're kind of safe. So I think it's going to come down to Young Boys, PSG, New York. New York have been better, and they've obviously not they have a manager consistently, but they've also still not been super consistent. I guess if I had to put a gun to my head, I think I'd say I also think it'll stay the same three in the bottom. But all it takes is one game to you win one, draw one, or win both from a team like New York, and that whole bottom five changes around.
Oscar's gonna bring that team out of relegation.
Who?
Oscar.
Oscar's the most inspirational person I've ever met.
Peace and love, brother.
Yeah.
Dorsey mentioned the PCN Hall of Fame. What there needs to be done. Dorsey did this one day out of boredom and sheer wanting to know. But if we're talking about where people start their careers at, PCN has the greatest team ever. Like
PSG?
so many,
PSG,
like so many great players sign for Stay High at the beginning. They just don't stay.
I mean, if one thing I was going to point out, if you look at the top four defenses in Super League, you combine all of their goals allowed, it still doesn't equal River Plate's goals allowed. I mean, 115 is absolutely astronomical.
Yeah, they might beat the season 8 Dortmund record, which was on the last FIFA when Orlando scored 130 goals. But you know what? I'll give credit to a team that stuck by the whole season and keeps playing versus a team that drops out any day.
And the thing is too, is that we're not even talking about like a team that's like, new players like America. These are players that's been around the block. Like One Shot, Serginho, T-Bone was there for a while. Like it was basically Lille from League 2 and League 1.
Yeah, it's definitely rough for them. I think if there's one team that can squeak out, it's NYCFC. They're gonna have to get some luck and maybe some misfortune for either PSG or Young Boys. But I know I've played with Itza Willie, and he's a good guy, and I know he's trying hard now for the World Cup. So I don't know if his attention is going to be diverted a bit, but we'll see. All likelihood, it's probably going to remain the same.
Yeah, PSG and New York do play next Sunday, so not the last game day or two, but they do have a big
matchup.
That's a
Marquee matchup.
Marquee matchup.
All right, well, let's switch gears to League One, and we'll take a look at the title contenders. There's really only 4 teams, and the 4th team, my team, is going to need some help if we're going to get there. But top place is Orlando with 75 goals for, only 18 allowed. Best offense, best defense, 67 points. Valencia sitting in second, 65 goals for, 39 against. And Real Madrid has 68 for, 29 against, but 62 points. And then Dortmund, we have 50 for, 26 against, 54 points. But we have 2 games in hand that we have to make up. So we do have an ability to close some of that gap. It's just going to be a matter of, is Orlando going to drop any points? So what are your thoughts? Is Orlando going to drop? Are they going to hold on? What are you thinking?
For Orlando, for be honest with you guys, I've played those guys in the last round of the 16 in the League Cup, and they took it to us. I'll be honest with you. It was about 2-0, about 75th, 74th minute, but they just had the ball. They were just playing great football, to be honest with you. And for them to have the best offense, the best defense, I mean, that's a title contender, and definitely should be putting that title across your belt, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue them winning the title. If they win their game in hand, they go up 7 points with 4 to go. That means they have 2 wins or a draw or a win and 2 draws with that goal difference wins them the title. So I think they're pretty much set in terms of winning the title. I think they've been the best team all season. I think the real interesting race, especially if Dortmund can win their games in hand, is who comes second. because I think any three of those teams could end up in second and get that automatic promotion. And you saw last season when Liverpool sneaked into sixth and then got promoted. Just because if you don't finish second and you finish third, that doesn't mean you're going to go right back up.
I'll be honest. At one point during the transfer window, I decided that I wanted to play FIFA again. So I asked to go out on loan from Milan. Ended up going to Valencia.
And he got benched again.
Shut the fuck up. Look, after one game day, I reminded myself of how much I didn't like FIFA and didn't want to play no more. But that's besides the point. Be honest. Outside of like OG and Mamba, I didn't know nobody at Valencia, which is kind of why I picked it, because it's a new experience. But for a team full of people that I had no knowledge of, they don't have like a set plan when it comes to like games, but they just know how to win. No offense, Body. It's one of those Man City situations where it's like you don't necessarily know what they're about to do, and then they score 4 goals on you. It's wild.
If I'm correct, like Death Row's got like an average of 1.5 goals per game. That's crazy. Like,
Oh, that guy's insane. Death Row.
yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
could be the first League 2 to Super League if they can finish this off.
See, boys, I'll be honest with you. I've played with those guys in AFCON. I had them on my team in Kenya. Yeah, it didn't show that it was just results that just went the other way. But anyways, Valencia, those guys, Mamba, Mr. Bidon, I believe Scholesie's there. Those guys got some guys that, like he says, they don't have no set play. They don't have no set plan. But boy, they'll spank you left and right, and you won't even see it coming.
Yeah, I think it's just as a neutral, they're kind of the team I'm rooting for. Just like I there's people I like on like I can't play favorites too much, but like it's a team that I don't know too well, but I know is kind of an underdog. And you look at the Madrid team, everyone picked to win the league. You know, they've been scuffling compared to what they're expected to do. Dortmund's got a lot of experience. I think it'd be cool if Valencia could sneak in the second spot and force Madrid and Dortmund to go into the playoffs. I'm looking at the schedules for all three, and they've each got easier games, middle of the road games. Valencia Madrid's probably the biggest one. I think I'll be rooting for a draw on that one. So yeah, I don't know. It's probably gonna come down to the final games.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd be surprised if anyone other than Orlando won it. I mean, they've been the best team all season long. They have that game in hand. As long as they keep doing what they're doing, I wouldn't be surprised if Valencia comes in second at all, really. I think they were surprised from the beginning of the season till now. If you listened to the podcast, you looked around the channels, who they thought was going to win, it was always Madrid. Valencia kind of came up there and snagged that second place. And I've actually played with a few of those players on the World Cup preparations, and they're a really good group of players. I'm surprised they don't have any direction because they're really coachable. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Valencia ends up coming in second. Got to root for Dortmund, though, to sneak in there. We've got 4 games tomorrow. It'll be interesting if we can maintain that.
I gotta say, one, it's nice that somebody got to the maximum team limit before I did for once in the season.
I wasn't even the first.
No, but you still got there before me, so thank you, Saul.
You're welcome.
And also thank you, Capone, if you're listening. But I was gonna say, Dorsey was on my ass about it. This is uncensored. Dorsey was on my ass about it back before the season started when Real Madrid was first the team. Because I said that they're going to cakewalk the league. And he was on my ass about you can't predict the team 2 months before the season started. Granted, this was before Orlando became a team. Had Orlando already been a team back then, I would have said that Orlando and Madrid was going to cakewalk the league. But thanks to Valencia, my statement is still wrong. But I appreciate I appreciate Orlando for being a team. So my point was wrong, and Dorsey can be right.
Let me ask you guys just a simple question. Do you think that that style of play can get you anywhere in the Super League?
For which team?
Besides Valencia, like people said they don't have a direction, but they'll smack you around.
Oh, 100%, man.
Yeah,
I think
your results will be inconsistent, but I think in any given game, they seem like they can give you a run. I think a team like Spurs we've seen in Super League, they started really hot. They've kind of just always sunk down because to me that's the most comparable team to Valencia this season in terms of the team that people didn't really expect to do as well as they did in League One. Got promoted, and early on people didn't know how to defend against them, but as the season went on, I think teams kind of adjusted to them, and they lost a piece here and there, and so I think Valencia's gonna have to make some adjustments, but I think they can have some success in Super League if they make it.
I think the biggest thing always with like teams to get promoted from League One or even League Two now, that's the thing, is that if you're unpredictable, you have a higher chance of winning because the other team can't predict if you don't even know what you're doing. But if you played together enough, that you kind of know what they might do. Like I'm saying that because flashback to when I played a lot. Season 8, I managed Leverkusen in League One when we won, and Body here remembers. We didn't have a style of play. Only style of play we had was give the ball to Kev and let him shoot. But in terms of how we got it to him, there was no strategy. And we almost beat River Plate, who then turned into Minnesota, in the Super Cup. So it's possible to win with that style of play.
I think if you have enough talent, you can overcome strategy and chemistry, but you have to have a lot of talent to get that done.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, let's take a look at the relegation battle for League One. There's really 5 teams in this race. Sitting in 14th, there's Marseille with 26 points. They have 28 goals for, 48 allowed. Lille sitting in 15th with 37 for, 72 against. Chivas is sitting there with 27 goals for, 58 against. Roma is 34, 56 against. And then Leicester is sitting there with 24 for and 68 against. Is that line set similar to Super League, or I think it's a little bit more wiggle room there, don't you think?
For sure.
I think Marseille will go down.
Roma isn't getting
I
relegated.
think they'll stay up because they've got a fairly, compared to the rest of them, they've conceded a lot less goals. I mean, Lille conceded 72 and Marseille conceded 48. So yeah, I think Marseille might stay up.
Yeah, so what's interesting is a team that had been falling, but then they just won 2 games in a row, and Chivas had been falling, and then they had won 3 in a row going into last game day. I think the only team that's kind of out of it is Leicester. I think they haven't really been able to get their form righted, but and then 3 of those teams from 14th to 17th have a game in hand, and Chivas have 2. So it's all to play for. I don't even know if I have a prediction because all the teams have been so inconsistent with their form.
If you look at Marseille's recent form, their last game day, they had 3 games. They beat Real Madrid. They took Orlando to 1-0 loss, and then they tied Wolfsburg. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that they're going to stay out of that relegation battle. They do have the best defense of that bottom 5.
I would say Lille. I would say they're gonna prevail to stay up. Marseille does have a better defense than pretty much all those guys down there. But I'm gonna take Chivas to come up, and Lille and Chivas to prevail to stay out, and send everybody else to the bottom league with us, and come on down to League 2.
I do think so. Chivas are basically going to dictate how this goes because they play Marseille, they play Lille, and they play Roma. So they lose all those, they're going to go down. They win all those, they're going to be one of those 2 teams to stay up. They split those, it's going to come down to the other results. So,
but Chivas is going to stay up just simply because Foster is too good of a player. I feel like he's gonna help him out. Like I know a lot of the newer people don't know that much about Foster, but when Foster plays, he's unpredictable, which, as we just mentioned, can get you wins.
Their whole team is unpredictable because you just don't know how they're going to show up, and you don't know what mood they're going to be in. But they have legitimately talented play. We say this all the time.
They ever since they taken like management, they was from Chivas when they was in Super League, season 9. They like their whole shtick is that they only get like 7 players to show up, but if they was to when they get a full 11 to show up, they're unbeatable. It makes no sense, and it's the same team every season. It's not like they're losing players. It's the same players. They just don't show up.
Do you think any of the other, like Wolfsburg's sitting in 12th with 31 points, do you think they're in danger at all?
No.
I was just about to bring that point up. I actually think it could be that close, you know. As Dorsey said, Chivas have got a lot of talk in this finish.
I think Schalke maybe could get dragged in if Chivas do finish well. But that Wolfsburg team, basically they had a new manager take over a few weeks ago. And I think they've won 9 out of 11 or 12 or something. So to me, they're in way too good a form. But Schalke have been scuffling a little bit. They won 2 in their last game day, but they had been scuffling before that. So I think if any team above that, that's the one for me to dragged in.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the last title race in League Two. Really a 2-dog race. If the third team gets a little bit of luck, maybe they'll make it. But Barcelona is sitting in first, surprisingly enough. 63 goals for, 21 against, 65 points. Wolverhampton sitting in second. They have 68 goals for, 22 against, and 64 points, just a point behind Barcelona. And then Fiorentina sitting there with still the best offense, 78 goals for, but astounding 55 against and 60 points. What are your thoughts? You know, this looks like a 2-dog race to me. Do you have a prediction on who's going to take it?
Wolves are going to win.
Yeah.
Barca, I think. The Kings are too OP.
Barca's full of cells. I love you, Smurf, but you're a cell.
I mean, they've won their last 5 games, including a matchup against Wolverhampton. So I don't know if you can say they're selling.
See, here's the thing, though, is that I know this from Argentina in the World Cup, and from Easy Slays knows this from Dortmund last season. Barcelona beat Wolves, but they're the type of team to lose to Ajax. Because at Argentina, we was not supposed to make it out of our group. We drew Denmark with Body over here in Last King, and then we lost to Egypt, who didn't win a single game the entire group stage. So this is King Snow's specialty, is losing to the teams you're not supposed to lose to. So that's why I'm not.
Oh, that's after last season. We played against like top 2 teams. We beat them. We play last team. We lose.
It's like a terrible history pattern. So
it's in his blood.
History repeated itself again.
History's repeating itself in every league.
It looked like they will both.
I was gonna say that, like, I'm not being funny, but me and Dorsey know firsthand, Fiorentina are a really scary team when they play. We played them in the cup. They gave us a game. Like, they were on it. The pressure was unreal. So I think with the 2 ahead, yeah, there's a bit of a gap. But if they play, man, then they could still secure if Barcelona will slip up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what you need to do is beat Wolves and then, gain 2 more points on them. So have Wolves, draw a game and they win out, or so I don't think that top 2 is settled. I think it will be likely those 2 going up, but Fiorentina have earned their. I mean, they're a crazy team, and the fact that they've conceded almost the most goals in the league is wild to me.
My prediction is that Wolves are going to win. Fiorentina is going to come in second. Barcelona is going to win in playoffs.
I can see that.
For me, on this league, because I'm in this league, you know what I mean? I got a little experience up in this thing. I'm going to take King Snow to prevail. I believe Sporting, my squad, we got a late night matchup with Wolverhamptons. We got a little rivalry going. You know, it might not look like it, but we got a little chitter chatter in the little Discord, and so we got a little business to handle with those guys. So we might little upset some guys, and we'll let Barca take this title from those guys.
Yeah, you guys played them in the last game.
Yes, sir. So
if you think let's say Barcelona or Wolves were to slip into third and have to go to the playoffs, do you, from playing those guys and knowing those guys, do you think they'd be able to recover and still get out of the playoffs?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those guys, they've been the top 2 teams, I believe, the whole season, and they've been slipping up here and there. But I believe, yeah, if they come down to a playoff, Barca or Wolves, they'll get out and they'll go to League One real quick.
I think it'd be fascinating if Wolverhampton didn't win the championship. All season long, they were number 1. Everyone predicted them to win at the beginning of the season. That prediction stayed true the entire season. And then when it came down to the finals, Barcelona snuck in there and took it from them. I think that would be really fascinating.
I've been saying Barcelona's going to win. I don't want them to go to the playoffs.
All right, boys. Well, let's move on to the cups. We just have 2 cups remaining. We have the Royal Cup first. All 4 teams have played their first leg. Chelsea and AC Milan are matched up. They drew 1-1 in the first leg. And Inter Milan and Benfica are matched up. Inter Milan took the first leg 2-1. Who do you guys think are advancing? And then who do you guys think will end up winning it all?
This is tough. Inter and Benfica, the fact that Inter were able to score 2 on Benfica, if they can get an early away goal, I don't know if Benfica can score twice on them. So for that reason alone, I think I'm going to pick Inter to come through on that side. And then I have no clue even how to project our game against Chelsea. We were so not good the other night that I was really almost happy that we just got a draw. And we played them in the league earlier on Sunday night, and then we have them in the World Cup after. So I have to think that we'll come through. I think on the balance of play, we've been a better team. I think we are a better team. We just have to get our shit together and take care of business, and then potentially have a Milan derby in the final.
Inter is going to beat Benfica, and then AC Milan, as long as we don't sell and Dorsey don't do splits at halfway anymore, we'll beat Chelsea, and Milan derby again. Hopefully this time AC finally wins something.
Yeah. It comes down to everybody handling their business and just taking care of what's at hand. I know everybody has the league to care for, but you're in the cup as well, so it just depends on what you're gonna put first. And I believe the Milan derby, I would like to see that.
Yeah, I think our away goal will help us against Chelsea. As Dorsey said, we didn't play particularly well, but yeah, I think I predict a Milan derby as well. That's going to be one hell of a game, man.
Yeah, but I also could see easily in the Benfica game where they get an early goal, whether it's fluky or whether they do a good play and they go up 1-0, and then they just defend their lives for 90 minutes and get out of there.
Which are really good at doing. Both teams are good at that,
And even Chelsea, like, if they get an early goal against us, I think they'd want to go for that other away goal, but I could also see them trying something similar. So I'm not expecting a lot of goals in the second leg. We'll just have to see.
All right. Well, the other cup that's in the semifinal stage is the League Cup. In that, we have Atlanta facing off with Inter Milan, and then we also have Manchester City facing off with Bayern Munich, surprisingly enough. So who do you guys think are going to prevail in those matchups? Because that's still fresh. They have not played each other yet.
Inter Milan, because APOC can't play and Foot King moved to Denmark and he lags now. And by lags, I mean he lags completely out. And then, what was the other matchup?
Manchester City and then Bayern Munich, the League One squad, kind of middle of the pack League One squad.
It's got to be Man City.
The Simplicity boys are too nice.
They're A pass. Like if you could describe, like people say Inter a lot, but if you want to describe like the definition of beautiful football, you look at Inter, but you gotta look at Man City because they've been playing together for so long. It's so like to a T. It's like you're watching real life. A pass after A pass after A pass after A pass.
Completely opposite to Man City last season. Yeah.
Yes. If you knew how Man City used to play, take it the opposite direction. That's how they play now. Because they're just going A pass around you until they get a shot.
Man City and Juve have definitely, since the transfer window, bought a lot of good guys in, so I can see Man City winning that one. And again, I think Inter Man City final.
We played Man City the other night, and they beat us 1-0. But look at their games, they score 1 goal in a lot of games. In the last 7 games, they've scored 1 goal in all but 1 of them. So I think they have been playing better, and I think they are on paper a better team than Bayern. I know those guys pretty well from playing with them at Bad Boys, but they're on a run. They've been better in League One lately, and they've been on this kind of magical cup run, and they kind of put the work on Orlando last round. They gave up a late free kick goal, but it was 2-0 until then. So I don't know. I mean, I'd expect City to win, but I wouldn't count Bayern out. And then I had to pick an Inter. Atlanta's kind of been scuffling a little bit. And like you said, there's a couple absences for them. And I just think with the form Inter are in, they beat Chelsea 3-0 in the last round. Could be another really good cup success run for Inter this season. See if they can do what they did last year.
And see, the reason why I have to sit there and say that City, like Dorsey says, they only score 1 goal a game. There are a few recent games. They've only scored 1 goal a game, but the reason why that's not nothing to really be worried about is because their defense is so good, they only need one goal. Like, granted, these are people that are fairly new to the league, so a lot of people that don't play in other leagues don't really know who these guys are. But when you have people like Wani and Ramirez and Bauer,
Bauer and goal.
Bryson, Bryson and Laser and Money, it's just, oh my God. They only need one goal, and then they're just going to maintain possession around 60-70%.
They're just going to hold the ball.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was going to say. They're going to come away with 70% possession. You know, that kind of team. Effective way of playing, really.
If they keep their team or get a new team or whatever the case is, if those guys form a team for next season, whatever league they're in, they're a title contender.
And that's not how I wouldn't say Bayern have an amazing style of play, but they're down and they're dirty and they're effective, and J-Way knows how to scout an opposition and kind of build his tactics around that. So I don't know. I gotta go with my boys at Bayern.
Based off of what we said, Saul's about to say Atlanta and Bayern because underdogs.
I mean, I love an underdog, but I think Atlanta for me is just too far behind Inter. Because Foot King was the center back on that defense, and that's kind of your glue on the defensive end. It's hard to replace someone, especially kind of mid-season-ish. I guess you could say 3/4 of the way in. I'm definitely going to take Inter in that one. I do think Bayern could surprise some people. I know J-Way has had a lot of managerial success, and I know he has some players in there that he's really hype about. I think I'll take Bayern in that one, and just based on J-Way and the way he puts together a squad and what he can do, I think they could surprise someone and make this cup run a magical one. I think Inter will probably end up smashing those dreams in the final, but I think they'll at least get through this round.
See, here's the thing is that Atlanta had Foot King and they wasn't expecting him to move to Denmark, but he ended up moving to Denmark and now they have to find somebody to replace him. But everybody's on their teams now.
Yeah, I know. I gave Atlanta a lot of credit in the window for using the loan system in an effective way in terms of getting their guys playing time, but I think they've been hurt by it a little bit in the recent weeks because whether it's those guys or just anybody else they could have signed, they've barely had more than like 12 or 13 people available all season.
They did sign the returning Jigsaw, though.
They did.
It's always a plus.
Just the lack of overall firepower from their offense this season is kind of shown as it's gone on.
Yeah, I mean, I love who are their strikers again? It's like
Frihito is a one-time king. Like
if he hits it one time, it's going to go in. But in terms of a complete striker, I love Friel to death. Like I wanted him on my team when I managed Leverkusen. I just see him more as like a winger or an outside mid. And then Talentless, he's a great outside mid.
I think he's leading per right now in strikers, surprisingly enough. He's had quite the change. Started over there in Liverpool. I think he tried to continue it when he went to Atlanta.
Talentless is a smart player, so he's always going to make the right decision, regardless of where he's playing.
I do think it'd be cool if the underdogs both won, and you have Atlanta, never won a cup, or they have a League One title, but that's all they've ever won. And I think Bayern, I could be wrong, but I think they've always just been close, maybe one cup. So I think it'd be cool for one of those two teams to come out, and even Man City. We won the Royal Cup a couple seasons ago, but I don't think they've ever won the League Cup. So that's something else for them to win.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. I want to thank Dorsey for co-hosting as always. Thank all the panelists for joining, adding some good conversation. Hope you enjoyed the title race. Until next week, everyone take care.